So SEDS is the Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. It's one of the rock star pro space organizations currently working in the United States and internationally. It's the only fully student-run international pro space organization. There are no professionals involved in the organization. There are no teachers telling the students what to do. These are students who have decided that they want to band together to further the cause of space exploration and education for all mankind. The students decide on their own projects. The students do everything in the organization from applying for 501c3 non-status with the 501c3 nonprofit status with the IRS. They do all their own fundraising. They come up with their own projects. They determine what are the projects they want to fund and sponsor and work on. They run their own worldwide recognized conference called the Space Vision Conference every November. They host projects both at the chapter level at local high schools and universities, and also at the national and international level, launching large-scale rocket competitions or high-altitude ballooning payloads or satellites. Actually, SEDS was one of the very first student groups in the world to launch their own satellite aboard a Delta II back in, I believe, '94. It was called SEDS-1. It was one of the very first fully student-built satellites.
How many chapters?
So currently SEDS has about 28 chapters in the United States and chapters in about a dozen different countries. Some of our hotspots for chapters are the United States, the United Kingdom, and India.
Of the 28 in the United States, give us an idea of where some of them are located.
So SEDS chapters, while we have them in most of the traditional big aerospace schools, such as like Purdue or Embry-Riddle, we found that the strongest centers for our schools chapters are where schools are perhaps failing their students in space and science education. Some of our strongest chapters are from places where, say, the aerospace engineering department refuses to teach the space side of aerospace engineering. And the students realize that, hey, this is unfortunate that the professors are not helping me learn what I want to learn, but that doesn't need to limit me. And so you get a bunch of students that get together and decide to learn how to build a rocket from scratch. Self-driven students are what we're looking for. Students that are not afraid to run their own project from the start to finish without any professional involvement.
SEDS also helps run the Space Frontier Foundation's NewSpace conference.
Yes, SEDS actually is tapped for a large number of volunteers for all the different space conferences. We have strong partnerships with both the International Space Development Conference and the NewSpace conferences. Those are for the National Space Society and Space Frontier Foundation, respectively. We have a large volunteer contingents. Both organizations recognized a long time ago that, hey, these SEDS students are running this really great international conference here in the United States from scratch without any professional involvement. We should tap these students to help volunteer and run our conferences. And so we have large volunteer contingents that work at both conferences. And it's a really strong partnership. These societies get really strong, dedicated volunteers and even managers for their conferences, and the students get great exposure between all the professionals and potential employers that attend both conferences.
And is there any connection between NASA and SEDS? Any official connection between NASA and SEDS?
So at current, SEDS is not receiving direct funding through NASA, but we do get a lot of funding through the NASA Space Grant Program. And I can't encourage the students listening to this podcast enough to research your local space grant program and apply for internships and funding for research. It's an amazing program that funds a lot of students across the United States, and many of our SEDS chapters receive a lot of their research funding through the NASA Space Grant Program. We also have a lot of high-level policy connections and networking connections within NASA. Lori Garver recently invited a bunch of our SEDS students to attend President Obama's Presidential Space Summit last April to hear the President's vision for where space will go and to provide feedback to the Obama administration on potential problems we might see with the mission, and to also discuss this new mission for NASA with the industry executives. It was a really cool opportunity, and out of the 200 people that were invited to President Obama's Presidential Space Summit, about 20 of those were students, and a majority of those SEDS students. It's a great opportunity for students to get involved at all levels of the space industry, everything from running a Yuri's Night party at your local school to getting involved in major policy decisions, going to the Capitol and participating in a political space blitz, running your own conference, running a large-scale rocket project, studying the stars, building a telescope, going into a classroom and educating kids and inspiring them that, hey, this isn't some white-haired old NASA engineer, this is someone only 10 years ahead of me who's done all these cool things. Maybe I can do that too, and encouraging, inspiring students to excel in STEM fields. So we're going to be hosting our conference slightly earlier this year due to conflicts with some university events. So the S.E.D.S Space Vision Conference will be held this year at the University of Colorado at Boulder. It will be held the last weekend in October, overlapping Halloween, but we think we're going to have a nice little space masquerade contest to make up for missing all the parties back home. And it'll be usually a 3 to 4 day conference and covering a large range of topics. Usually we have about over 500 students that participate from across the United States and from other countries such as Canada. And we will have a large number of industry professionals. Currently, both Bill Nye the Science Guy and Elon Musk have confirmed as speakers, and we have a large range of other speakers. One of the ways S.E.D.S as students arrange our conferences is our invite list for speakers is we take the keynote lists of every other conference and invite them all. Thankfully, since we are students and people know that they are coming to a student conference, we have a lot more speaker draw power to bring in speakers. Anusha Ansari once was talking with us, and she said that she will always come and talk to us a student conference when she gets the chance, because by talking to students, she has a chance to potentially inspire us to make a difference. Whereas if she talks at a more professional conference, there's much less chance of actually making a difference. And that's one of the reasons which makes it such a great conference to go to, is that we have all this draw power to bring in so many of the keynote people within the space industry. And you do not need to be a S.E.D.S member to attend. We have a large number of students from across the nation that come who are not S.E.D.S members. We encourage them to start chapters if they want, but all students equally are invited to attend, as well as any professionals or other people that are interested in space and just want to learn more.
And to find out more about the conference,
to learn more about the S.E.D.S conference, you can go to our main S.E.D.S website, which is www.SEDS.org, or you can go to our conference website, www.spacevision, that's SPACEVISION.SEDS, SEDS.org.